So I watched Thundercats roar. Yeah. So first, disclaimer, I have never seen the original Thundercats. I've never even seen the 2011 version. I've watched He-Man, I've watched She-Ra, I've never watched Thundercats. So I went into this show without having knowledge of source material or any nostalgic love for the show. I went into it basically unbiased, but not really unbiased because no one's unbiased. I can tell you that this show was not that bad. Was it good? No, but it wasn't that bad. It was very babyish. That was the real thing. It was like very, very childish and manic. Obviously supposed to be a spoof on the original show rather than a adaptation of the original show. If you enjoyed the original Thundercats, I know for a fact you will hate this show. I know because there are plenty of shows that I've had that were more serious and had their own unique style and own unique aesthetic, and then they were just babied down to be this weird chibi nonsense. I know, I understand the pain. I wouldn't say that this is as bad as maybe like the Powerpuff Girls reboot or the Teen Titans Go, although it's very obviously made to be like the next Teen Titans Go. Like, I don't think you should be necessarily mad at the people behind the show. I think you should be mad at the Cartoon Network executives who ordered this show to be made, because you know that they picked out these people and told them, all right, we have the rights to Thundercats. I want you to make a show called Thundercats Roar, and I want you to make it the next Teen Titans Go. And that's what they're clearly trying to do. Trying to make it like a mix of that very goofy, very baby type of comedy and some action. They're just mixing that together. And you know, that's not that bad of an idea, but obviously you're gonna upset the original fans. Now, I hate Teen Titans Go for multiple reasons. It's not because I don't think that it's funny necessarily. It's obviously, you know, supposed to be a parody of the original Teen Titans show on Cartoon Network. But when Teen Titans Go was made and it was successful, that felt like the beginning of the end for Cartoon Network. Because they realized, hey, this manic, spoof, childish SpongeBob humor is what's going to sell, so we need to make more of these. And I know that there are plenty of adults who also like Teen Titans Go. One of the reasons I don't like Teen Titans Go is the fact that they took a serious show and babied it down, and that serious show, I thought, was already babied down from the original comics, so like that was an extra blow to me. I wanted the show itself to be more serious, and instead I got an even less serious reboot. But a lot of the Teen Titans Go humor is like kind of mean. It's like pretty nasty. Not just the writers taking jabs at the original fans of Teen Titans, but the characters themselves in the show just being mean to each other, straight up bullying each other, and then there's no lesson learned at the end because haha, we're just a joke show. Of course there's no lesson. And you know, it's not the type of show that I would want to shape the minds of my children. But it's obvious that Cartoon Network saw success with these types of shows. There was a market for it, and now they're trying to oversaturate all of their cartoons with this style rather than trying to focus on more serious shows. And it's not like these shows have never existed before, but there used to be a variety. There used to be a balance. You could watch the goofy show, and then you could watch this more serious show that comes on next. You know, you have SpongeBob, and then what's on next? Avatar. It balances out. It teaches kids maturity and the ability to just lay back and laugh. Even the She-Ra reboot, you can tell, you know, they're trying to be more serious with it. It's definitely not Avatar. And She-Ra is kind of this weird balancing act where they're trying to be serious, but also they're not being serious at all. It doesn't really work for me. But the one thing I think that makes Thundercats Roar uniquely bad is not the writing itself, although yes, it's very childish and very manic, but the designs are a whole other problem. These designs and animation, it's gotta be some of the worst I've ever seen in an official show. Yes, even compared to the 80s cartoons. 80s cartoons might have had some rough animation, and it might have had a lot of mistakes, but at least the base designs looked good. These designs do not look good. First of all, let's examine this wonder over here. I love how Chitara doesn't have her arm actually attached to her body. It's just kind of floating beside her torso. I love that. That's some good drawing right there. And of course, this is supposed to be an oversimplified version of the original designs, using this CalArt style for the faces, and then like making the rest of their bodies kind of curvy, which is really weird for muscles. A lot of problems in the show, I think, are usually from foreshortening. I mean, this just looks awful. It looks like he has stretchy powers, and the sword is just flying away from him. I mean, come on. This foreshortening is awful. It's almost like you can't foreshorten with this character design. I'm not even gonna blame, the animators on this one. Maybe it's just that the character design is so bad, it's impossible to foreshorten with it. But like the body itself, they're going for a more curvy, silly version of muscular men, and it looks gross. It doesn't look good at all. I mean, look at these lines on his torso. It looks like he's chubby. The muscles themselves, they don't look like muscles, they look like tumors. It looks like he was unfortunately born with fatty tumors in his arms. It just looks so unattractive and bizarre. And then of course you have, the sword just ever so casually changing size throughout the entire scene. Not just like this example I showed you right here, but like one moment it looks like a dagger, right? And then the next moment it looks like maybe a short sword. And at the ending scene, the sword is supposed to change size, so it makes sense. But it doesn't make sense throughout the rest of the show why the sword is just changing size to be this like itty bitty little dagger into being a short sword. The faces, as you can probably also tell, they stretch and contort themselves a lot. So there's a certain lack of consistency with the character designs. And a lot of goofy shows have those moments. I don't like it, honestly. I don't really like it when the faces contort that much, or when they're constantly contorting every time a character has an emotion. You don't have to stretch the face out that far to express an emotion, and moving the bodies around all bouncy and squishy. Like, it reminded me of more like a YouTube animator, where they don't really care if the animation looks ugly in some spots, because they're like, it's YouTube animation, nobody gives a shit, And you see they turn into giraffes for this one scene where they're super thick necks, by the way, just stretch out. This one guy over here has his mouth covered by the Cartoon Network logo. Come on, guys. You knew the logo was gonna be there. It's not even like that unfixable of a problem. Just like center them in the shot. Just have that be empty space and center them in the shot. It's the same thing with like the necks. You don't have to stretch the necks out that far. You can just show the rest of their bodies. There's also a weirdness in the direction. I don't know if the writers and animators weren't really talking to each other about some of these scenes, but they're supposed to be wrapped up in chains in this scene. And as you can very clearly see, that's not chains. This is very obviously rope. And the way that they show some scenes, like there's a scene where the cat is like cutting the chains with a chainsaw, and it looks like rope. It looks like rope when he's cutting it. It looks like rope when they're wrapped up. But whenever they're like breaking free from it, you hear that chain sound effect. And like in the first scene, where they wrap them up in chains, you see the chain links come out. But this looks like rope. It's not consistent. It's not consistently chains. I don't know if they were just lazy and didn't want to draw it to look like chains. They rather just quick sketch wrap them in rope instead. It's not even like they're wrapped in giant chain links that are just going around them like that. It's just rope. So clearly there is some poor management or poor communication skills throughout this production. And this is just one example. There are other examples, of course. Come on. Oh, jeez. Make it stop. So being the parody that this show is supposed to be, they made the main character, Lion-O, a doofus, and the idea is he's just an idiot who has a magic sword, and it's up to the rest of the team to keep him in check. Now, to be completely fair, I think it would make a really, really funny show if the main character was just some idiot who found a magic sword and was super reckless with it, and then the rest of the adventuring party had to keep him in check. I think that's a funny idea, but you could just make an entirely different show with that concept. It doesn't have to be Thundercats. I think I would actually prefer an entirely new show based around that concept than I would see a reboot of an older show that completely disrespects the original fans. And I think most people will agree with that. But I know that Thundercats Roar has probably been trending on Twitter for a while. Why don't we see what Twitter has to say? Oh, it looks like your boy Zach uploaded a video. Thundercats Roar teaches boys to hate themselves. Interesting interpretation. Looking at the reviews of Thundercat Roar, and people defending the show are saying, oh, you don't like it because of nostalgia. Nope, I don't like it due to the animation style and overall writing. Most parents will watch shows with kids, and if the parents hate it, so will the kids. That's an interesting thought that this person has here, actually. That if the parents don't like a show, the kids will in turn like pick up on that and they won't like the show either. That's interesting. You know, one of the reasons why I think kids might not like the show is mainly because the art. The art is pretty rough. And you can argue that other shows have rough art, but the problem lies with the designs themselves. You can say that Gumball, every now and then Gumball has these really weird shots where they have kind of ugly art, but the base designs of Gumball are fine. They're likable designs. This is not a likable design, and I feel like they kind of knew it wasn't a likable design, so maybe that's why they have the giant CalArts heads, because the idea is if you make the head really giant and you make the head really cute looking or something familiar looking, maybe the kids will just stare at the heads and they won't notice the disgusting body underneath. There are definitely shows when I was a kid that I would avoid watching because I did not like how it looked. So by making these designs poorly, I think they ran the risk of turning kids off just by the look of the show. But I guess we'll see. We'll see how it all turns out, you know? Kids might very much like the show. Too bad the official Thundercats Roar videos are flagged as kid content and the comments are disabled. Half the fun is gone. That's pretty funny. So I'm seeing a lot of posts going around about Thundercats Roar. I remember it was poorly received a few years ago. Just because a reboot is cute doesn't mean it's going to be like Teen Titans Go or PBG. From me watching the show, the intention feels like it's meant to be the next Teen Titans Go. This is a verified one, and they link a Polygon article. With Thundercats Roar premiering on Cartoon Network's website, it's a good time to revisit the claim that the show is another CalArts knockoff. Mayer wrote an amazing, thorough, informative piece on what that insult means and why it's an insult. I mean, no one said that CalArts was necessarily an insult. I think that CalArts was just the name that was attributed to that style, and the insult was that it was oversaturated, like there was too much of it, and they were just sticking with one art style, similar to how anime can sometimes stick to one anime style. And I think that's an interesting argument to make. A lot of people don't want that. They don't want all of their cartoons to be in a CalArts style. They want to have variety within art styles that they see. Couldn't endure till the end, but tell me that Thundercats Roar at least made fun of the "we learned something today" segment. That's like the main thing you gotta do if you plan to parody Thundercats. It wasn't that funny though. It was the classic, "oh, we learned something today." No, we didn't. We don't learn any lessons. Ha 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 ha. They wrote a petition to get the show canceled. Oh, come on. Just don't have your kids watch it, and for the most part, it'll probably get canceled on its own, right? And again, Batwoman is getting another season, so I don't know. But with Cartoon Network, you know, they're not doing super well financially, and that's probably why their shows are becoming more childish and more cheap. They figure if we can do cheap animation and get a lot of success from it, why not? It's like Teen Titans Go over and over again. You know, Teen Titans Go is a fairly cheaply made show, simple designs, and they made a decent amount of success from it. So that might be why they're looking for more shows like Teen Titans Go, where they can have these very simple, cheaply made designs and animation and achieve a decent amount of success from it. Because you know, with all the streaming wars going on, normal cable in general is just not doing that great. So they are looking for cheaply made successes. And you know, this person is throwing out the toxic fandom, certain keywords that'll get your post a little bit more attention. They said the Thundercats Discord is the summation of toxic fandom. You don't like Thundercats Roar? That's cool. You prefer 2011 Thundercats? That's cool. What's not cool is yelling at the artists and writers on Twitter. I don't agree with the whole toxic fandom thing, but I don't think that people should be adding the artists and writers on Twitter. Like I said, if anything, you should be adding Cartoon Network. They're the ones who ordered this show to be made. They wanted it to be like the next Teen Titans Go. If you want to share your opinions, if you want to start a petition to get it canceled, go for it, you know, but don't pick out specific people and start harassing them. That's just not cool. But anyway, let me know what you think down below in the comments section about this new Thundercats reboot, and what you think about this new style of cartoons that is being produced for kids, whether or not you think this is a positive thing or a negative thing for children to be overexposed to. You think there should be variety in serious, mature stuff and the silly stuff. Share any and all thoughts you have down below. And of course, remember to like the video. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Program restart.